Hello, you out there. It's a Friday morning. My name is Benedict. So welcome to the AM show. Today I'm doing a show with my colleague Seven Saki, and we'll talk about the English Premier League here on the local scene. We'll look at what's happening with Accra Hearts-of-Oak, Kumasi Asante Kotoko, as well as the Black Queens yesterday in a game against Nigeria, a semi-final game at the Women's Wafu Cup of Nations. They won on penalties, 5-6. They won on penalties as it ended 1-1 in regulation time. Also, we'll look ahead to the major European leagues this weekend. The English Premier League is back after last weekend run of matches in the FA Cup. In the Italian Serie A, we see action there, as well as the Spanish La Liga, the German Bundesliga, and the French League. Also yesterday, matches were played in the UEFA Europa League. A complacent Arsenal managed to progress to the next stage of the competition despite losing their game at home to Osterrand. We'll look at that as well. But we'll start here on the local scene. Accra Hearts-of-Oak have terminated the contract of their head coach, that's Frank Nuttal. Remember very well, somewhere 2 weeks ago, they suspended Nuttal indefinitely for what they describe as misconduct on the part of the Scottish trainer. Well, they released a statement last night, and Seven is here to go through the statement for us. So, Seven, what's in a statement Accra Hearts-of-Oak released last night?
So, the communications manager, Kwame Parado, says, upon receiving allegations about certain underground dealings by Mr. Nuttal, the board constituted a 3-person committee to investigate the facts of the case and give the coach an opportunity to defend himself against said allegations. After a thorough review of the facts and hearing Nuttall's defense, the committee was unanimous in its recommendation to the full board that his contract be terminated. According to the committee's report, Coach Nuttal admitted to his involvement in aiding and introducing players of the club to agents and vice versa without the knowledge of the management of the club. Effective immediately, Assistant Coach Henry Lamte Wellington has been asked to take charge of the first team duties and will serve as interim head coach until further notice. The board would like to ask for the continued support and cooperation of all stakeholders of Coach Wellington and his backroom staff. Signed by Kwame Parado, Communications Manager.
Okay, so that's the statement released by Accra Hearts-of-Oak on Frank Nuttal, and Seven just went through the statement for us. So he's a gunner now. He's no longer a coach of Accra Hearts-of-Oak, and as he mentioned, Henry Wellington, who was assistant to Frank Nuttal, will now take charge of the club as the Premier League season begins this March. So March 2, that's when the Ghana Premier League is beginning. But we still have to stay with clubs here on the low coast. And remember very well, Kumasi Asante Kotoko in action on Wednesday in the CAF Confederation Cup second leg game in Congo. They lost that game on penalties, 6-7 on penalties. They lost after Kara defeated them by a goal to nil in the game to make the tie 1-1 on aggregate, and on penalties they lost after the goalkeeper, that's Felix Annan, had saved 3 penalties. Well, yesterday they arrived in the country, and at the airport we met them. Their coach, that's Steve Fulak, mentioned that their failure to progress to the next stage of the competition was due to their inability to take their chances in a game.
Disappointed, you know, that would be a word I would find. Not to get through to the second round, as we was like probably the better team on the football side anyway, the better team. So disappointment, but at the same time, you know, we could have been better yesterday than we was. If it would have been like the first leg, I felt that we would have got the win that we needed, or the goal that we needed. So I felt, you know, our best wasn't good enough yesterday, and if it would have been better yesterday, we probably would have got the goal. Penalties are penalties, and I've said it before and I say it again, it's a lottery, you know. And I keep reading stories, and well, don't you train set plays? Well, of course you train set plays. Why? I'm not doing my job if I'm not doing set plays, you know. So we practice penalties, and it's the goalkeeper's got nothing to lose, and the person who's taking has got everything to lose. So unfortunately for us yesterday, their goalkeeper, well, both goalkeepers did well in the penalty shootout. Just their goalkeeper done a little bit better. Have a couple of days rest and start for the upcoming season.
So that was Kumasi Asante Kotoko coach Steve Polak speaking there after their defeat in a CAF Champions League. Well, their goalkeeper Felix Annan, who I mentioned, saved 3 penalties, but it was just unfortunate his side couldn't convert all penalties and had to, you know, exit the competition. Says their focus now is on the Ghana Premier League.
We are much disappointed because we went there with high hopes, but that is football. Sometimes you don't get what you want. We give out our best, but it was one of those days, and then we couldn't qualify. We are disappointed, but that is not the end of the game. We have to keep on going because we have targets, and then we are going to keep on working. It's part of the game. Even the best players miss penalties. You can score like 20 penalties in 20, but you can mix the one in the competitive game. So it's normal. It's part of the game. We lost, and we lost as a team, and then we are really disappointed. But that is not the end. We are going to keep fighting to the. It's me and qualify. So right now we have to come back and prepare, for the domestic league, which we are really focused. That is the only opportunity we have to redeem our image and make the fans proud. So we are going to work really hard and then make sure we start the league on a good note.
So that was Felix Anan Kumasi Asante Kotoko goalkeeper. Before we go on the international front, yesterday in Ivory Coast, the Black Queens played their counterpart from Nigeria in a semi-final game of the ongoing WAFU Women's Zone B Cup of Nations, and Ghana won 5-6 on penalties after it ended 1-1 in regulation time. So what it means is that they are through to the next stage. That's the finals of the competition, and they will come up against Ivory Coast. Remember, Ivory Coast were the team the Black Queens played in the opening, of this tournament, and Ghana lost that game by a goal to nil. So revenge for the Black Queens.